rounds begin with two series in both the American and National Leagues. But first, we start with the partisan standoff over health care and spending, threatening to trigger the first U.S. government shutdown in almost 7 years, with Democrats and Republicans in Congress unable to reach an agreement. So for more on this, we're joined now by GOP strategist Angie Wong. Angie, good morning. So let's start with this. Of course, the deadline for a government shutdown, midnight, 2 nights. In your opinion, do we see an agreement before that happens?
Well, Alex, if there is going to be a government shutdown, this is going to be a Democrat government shutdown, because Republicans did everything we could to pass a clean CR just for 7 weeks. And I think that's completely reasonable because we need more time for longer discussions for appropriations. Here's the problem. Chuck Schumer is starting to realize he doesn't wield the power he used to. A lot of these deals, a lot of these things that they sneak into all sorts of bills in the past has been done in his office. Right now, all of a sudden, the Senate wants to do everything in order and do everything with the Appropriations Committee, and he can't stand it. So he has the very far left pushing him to say, look, this is our only chance of getting all the things that we want. What are they asking for? Oh, $1.5 trillion in new spending for a 7-week stopgap. It's unheard of, but what do they need it for? Obamacare subsidies. They need it for PBS and other left-leaning media that they want to fund. So all of this is just a big dream. My thinking is Chuck Schumer is going to blink first because he's just doing this for performative acts for his party.
Yeah, and speaking of Chuck Schumer, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt yesterday, she actually went and quoted Chuck Schumer from last year where he said, quote, "A shutdown would mean chaos and pain and needless heartache for the American people, yet it is his side. They're the ones that are pushing towards this shutdown." But let's take a listen to Vice President J.D. Vance, who really seems to think, yeah, we're heading towards that shutdown.
We have disagreements about tax policy, but you don't shut the government down. We have disagreements about health care policy, but you don't shut the government down. You don't use your policy disagreements as leverage to not pay our troops, to not have essential services of government actually functions. I think we're headed to a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing. I hope they change their mind.
Yeah, Angie, we talk about policy disagreements. I actually want to back up for a second to where you were breaking down that $1.5 trillion that the Democrats want. Again, $500 million, as you were saying, to restore NPR and PBS, $350 billion of that $1.5 trillion to extend COVID-era subsidies that help with abortion care and gender transition procedures. They also want, it's our favorite thing in the whole world, free Medicaid for 1.2 million illegals. We've got the Republicans who want America first. We've got the Democrats who want illegals first, apparently. Do you agree with Vance that, yep, this is happening?
I do think that we have to be prepared for it. And you know what? It might not be a bad thing. This might, President Trump issued a memo to Russ Vought over the weekend to basically clean house if there should be a government shutdown. Get rid of all those bloated, non-essential jobs that nobody knows what they do anyway, right? So maybe this is a great opportunity to do that. And guess what else happens? Well, some of the federal courts also shut down for the civil cases. So all that lawfaring that President Trump and his team and his agenda has been facing when Democrats running to the courts is stopping his agenda, well, that's going to get delayed too. So I don't think this is a terrible thing. Why don't we shut it down for a little bit, let the Democrats kind of wheel in it, and let's proceed with a very lean and clean government.
That is such a fantastic point that you bring up, Angie. And right now, I do also want to welcome in former Ohio Congressman Bob McEwen. Bob, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Let's get right into Speaker Mike Johnson, who was expressing his concern if the government shuts down. Let's take a listen.
If they shut the government down, not only are troops unpaid, federal workers, and all the services that everybody relies upon, but the WIC program, the nutrition program, women, infant, and children, they will not get that program, will not be funded. FEMA won't be funded. We have hurricanes off the coast of the United States right now. This is serious business. You have telehealth, you have mental health services, all that's funded by the government would stop if Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats have their way.
Yeah, and just going off, Mike Johnson's point there, the National Association of Police Organizations also said law enforcement, they will really be put in a predicament. They will be putting their lives on the line with no payment. Again, the funding for vets, funding for seniors. Again, when it comes to food assistance programs for women and children as well, they will all be put on the line. What's the importance of getting this thing funded and not shutting down, especially from where the Republican side is coming from, Bob?
Well, the question is whether or not you're just going to play games or you're going to provide leadership. Throughout history, what we've done is that whenever the agreements were made, you had your battles, you fought the way, you had your votes on the floor, but then there came the time to run the government. Everyone was in favor of the government functioning. And so then they always passed at the end. And people would sometimes complain, but you say, we had that fight. The American people didn't agree with it, therefore we have to go on. What has happened in just the last recent years, particularly with AOC and these other folks that are spooking Schumer, is that when Schumer said, fine, we can't shut down the government, we don't win, but the American people chose other leadership, I'll make my fight, and if we don't have enough votes, then we move on. When he did that this spring, they turned against him. He said, you're not there to run the American government. You're not there to provide national leadership. You're there just to make chaos. And so what we're going to see is, very simply, the Democrat Party has decided that they would rather disrupt the government than lead in the government. And the American people are going to have to answer this. We're going to very shortly have a vote in which we're going to say, are we going to have AOC and these troublemakers? Are they there just to disrupt, or are they there to make their battles? And if the American people don't agree, to then put their shoulder to the wheel and support this great country.
Yeah, and I like that you use the word disrupt, because it seems like people like in AOC, that's just kind of their purpose nowadays, is to cause problems and disrupt. Angie, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, he went on CNN saying the House Republicans, essentially, they've had their minds made up, and they are the ones who want the government shut down. Take a listen.
House Republicans are on vacation right now. House Democrats are here, ready to do the work of the American people. Senate Democrats and even Senate Republicans are here in the Capitol. And it appears, at least to me, that a decision has been made by House Republican leaders, perhaps blessed by the administration, to shut the government down. Why did they cancel votes? Why are they on vacation spread out across the country and the world when we're on the brink of a government shutdown?
All right, Angie, please respond to Hakeem Jeffries there.
Did Hakeem Jeffries forget that the House actually passed a clean CR, including, with his help as well? So it only died in the Senate when Democrat senators blocked it. And remember, it was Mike Johnson who said, they didn't add a single rider. We just wanted an extension for a couple of weeks so that we can have more time to discuss appropriations. All of this makes perfect sense. Why are they doing this? Now, they have a very clear choice today. They can fold, and they can finally just allow for a 7-week continuance so that we can have these negotiations, so that all these programs can be paid, so that our police officers can be working safely and everyone is happy. But they rather not do that. They rather hold the American public hostage while they play these games of Obamacare and transgender surgeries and funding PBS.
Yeah, and I love that we keep using the word hostage, because that is exactly what it feels like. So, Bob, Angie, she actually brought up Russ Vought earlier in this conversation. So the White House Office of Management and Budget Director, which is Russ Vought, he says a government shutdown can be avoided. Let's hear directly what he had to say.
We want to keep this government open. It is not good for the American people to have the government shut down for any period of time. We will manage it appropriately, but it is something that can all be avoided. It can all be avoided by accepting a reasonable position, which is what the House has passed and what sits at the Senate desk, which is to continue to fund the government with a short-term continuing resolution.
Yeah, Bob, he makes it sound so simple and so easy. Do you agree with what he was saying? Is it just that simple?
Alex, it absolutely is. And what Angie said is 100% true. Let me just augment it a bit. What they passed was a continuing resolution. What does that mean? That means the way that you're spending currently under the last budget bill. When was that? Well, who was president? Joe Biden was president. So what we're saying is, let's take exactly what Biden, this is why some of the conservative Republicans are opposed to it, is because we're taking what was approved last year under the Biden administration, signed by President Biden, and say, until we can agree on something new, let's just continue where we were. And the House agreed to that. But the Senate, because Mr. Schumer is spooked, he's afraid of AOC running against him for the Senate, they're willing to shut down the country over. And so it's exactly what Russ said. This is very simple. You can do it tonight. It takes no effort. It's not a big surprise. It's exactly what we've been living under for the last 12 months. And yet they've decided that they're going to create a political battle. And it will be interesting to see how successful they are.
Yeah, and the American people they're the ones that will be hurting over this. Angie Wong, Bob McEwen, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Great conversation.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
All right, it is now time for your Newsmax News Minute. Well, we are just hours away from a government shutdown as President Trump could not strike a deal with top lawmakers. Vice President Vance leaving the meeting saying, quote, "I think we're headed into a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing." So today, the Senate will vote again on the House-passed spending bill that they rejected earlier this month. And after meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, President Trump declared yesterday a, quote, "historic day for eternal peace in the Middle